with Marty, and I had asked him to compare the work that you did with the sister locomotive with this one, and I understand there were some unusual challenges.
Well, the 464 was actually in service when I went to the Huckleberry in 1990, and we operated it through October of 1993, at which point the tires were worn out. So we took it out of service to replace the tires. Didn't take it apart for 2 years till we had the money to purchase the tires. While we had it down to do the work on the tires, the rules changed and we had to go completely through the boiler. On 464, we pulled the tubes. We had to replace some of the comm stays, the throat sheet braces, and we had to replace some rivets and new tubes. And that was the extent of the boiler work. On 463, we replaced the front and rear tube sheets and patched the first course and a small patch on the door sheet, and then all new tubes and flues. So far more boiler work on the 463. On 464, only things we needed to do to the frame were replace some bolts. We actually had a bolt in the frame leaking steam. One of the bolts that goes through the upper frame rail over the cylinders into an exhaust passage, that bolt had worked loose and exhaust steam was leaking out around this bolt. That was the extent of the framework. Though that was an interesting challenge, it was just different. On 463, as I mentioned earlier, it had gone through a trestle and Cimarron. The rear frame extension drooped about 1.25 inches in a 30-inch distance. And when I had read through the inspection reports for the last 3 years it had operated, the most common complaint was the rear truck running hot. With that rear frame extension, the rear truck was taking far more than its design weight of the locomotive, and that's why it would tend to run hot. So we had to straighten the rear frame extension and replace a fair number of the tapered bolts in the frame. So there's far more work on the frame, but now I think we've got it lined up within about 1/8 of an inch, which is about as good as they align your automobile.
You mentioned tapered bolts. Obviously you don't run down to the hardware store and buy those. Who's making them for you?
Monte Vista Machine Shop is machining them. I take the measurements and do a drawing. When we say taper, it gives the wrong impression. The taper is only 1/16 of an inch per foot, so it's very slight taper. As I like to say, it's not so much that it's tapered as that it isn't straight. But it's designed, you have to fit the bolt so that you end up with about a 1/2 inch projection when you slide the bolt in place. But then you actually drive the bolt in, and it's fit to that particular location and driven in, and so it's far more a part of the frame when it's done, holding two pieces together, than normal practice today is relying on the tension of the bolt, the pressure between the nut and the head to hold it together. The head and the nut are almost superfluous. It's like driving a tapered pin in, and that is what holds it in place.
That's what secures it?
Yes.
You know, when I was in the shop the other day, you showed me some things that had slipped, and obviously you're having to drill new holes and you're having to replace a lot of metal. And I presume that was something that you didn't have to do on the 464.
No, we didn't have to change. These are called frame filling pieces. They serve as the bracket that the equalizer fulcrum is mounted to, and also brake hangers are mounted to. And we're fortunate in that we have quite a number of drawings. We have the Rio Grande drawing for the frame and for the spring rigging. And what we are doing, why we're even working on these pieces, is to bring those spring fulcrums into the location as shown on the drawing. There have been repairs made in the past, quick and dirty repairs, and probably without even referring to the drawing, and just getting it together. So we're trying to get where the pin actually rides, where the equalizer will rotate around in the right location so that we have the weight distribution correct between all the wheels.
One of the things that is kind of neat for the Friends is that some of our members have been able to come up to the shop and help out. What sort of things have they done for you?
Well, the majority has been simply scraping and painting. I'll admit a lot of grunt work, but some of them have been quite involved. Mike Toad has been a real asset, and he is fabricating the new ash pan, and he is the one who took the lead on drilling and reaming the holes for the doubler plate in the smoke box.
So you've let our chaps get involved, and of course scraping and painting is mighty serious, because if it's not done right, the locomotive and the tender don't look nice when they go out on the road.
That's right. And and the Friends also have done the woodwork on the tender, which is heavy woodwork. It's not like, 2x4s. It's heavy white oak, drilling holes through a foot-thick piece of wood.
Yeah, I remember we used up several bits and a couple of half-inch drills.
Yes, well,
but all in a good cause.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Marty. We appreciate your sharing this with the folks that are going to watch this website.
You're welcome.